I recently visited Guatemala City, Guatemala, for a few days. While there, I did a bit of driving through the city and also did a private walking tour of Paseo de la Sexta. Paseo de la Sexta is a long street of restaurants, bars, and boutique street vendors, which is connected to one of the city's largest town squares, Plaza de la Constitucion, and some of the oldest Catholic churches in Latin America. But this isn't what this video is really about. This video is about doubling down on what I said in one of my previous videos, in which I talked about the Spanish resource I believe you should master first if your goal is to be able to understand and express yourself well in Spanish as a second language. And as I discuss this, I'll show you a bit of what I saw of Guatemala City as the background so you won't get bored of hearing me. After 20 months of dedicated study, I'm happy to say that I can confidently speak and understand the majority of Spanish that I hear. In fact, during the entire downtown city tour of Guatemala, my entire personalized tour, including more than 90% of our conversations, was done in Spanish.
Como puede ver, es de color verde. Eso, por cierto, es natural, no es pintado.
So, en la noche hasta un día como martes hay mucha gente, más
Son a 10 más o menos.
más o menos.
Aquí también como hasta las 8.
Do I still make mistakes when speaking? Do I still struggle to understand a lot of things that are said to me? Of course, I make lots of mistakes, and there's a lot of things I still don't understand. But it feels good knowing that the fruits of my labor, which is putting in at least an hour of learning Spanish each day, continues to pay off.
Burger King, Wendy's, Little Caesar, KFC. No, aquí sí estamos invadidos de cadenas de comida rápida.
¿Ustedes tienen un McDonald's?
Ah, sí.
Sí, por supuesto, sí.
Even though I've reached this point, I feel I could have arrived at my current level of Spanish fluency much faster. Of course, getting to where you want to be is no means a sprint, because then you'll have to find something else to do. I'm just saying that some things that I did just feel like I wasted a lot of time doing. Now, I'm sure that my current level of Spanish fluency has pulled from all the resources I've used, whether it's conscious or not, so I have no regrets, but many of you don't have the time to experiment and flounder as I've done. And because picking the wrong resource can become one of the biggest roadblocks to learning Spanish, I want to try to save you some time, if I can. If you start with the wrong resource, go through the entire program, and afterwards don't feel confident that you can read, listen to, or speak Spanish as your second language, you can easily become discouraged. And when you get discouraged, you may stop pursuing Spanish as a second language altogether. Have you already experienced this? Let me know in the comments section.
¿Molesta caminar?
No.
Porque podemos ir al centro cívico.
Sí, vamos.
Entonces vamos a caminar toda la Sexta Avenida.
Okay. Puedo caminar en todo. ¿Cómo se dice? Todo el día.
Ah, perfecto.
It's easy to pick the wrong resource or method when you start learning Spanish. Some people say you only need to watch videos, some say you should skip grammar altogether, and others say you must have a language partner. Knowing where or how to start can really be overwhelming. By no means are their opinions bad, as long as you're motivated to start somewhere. It's just that it may not be the most efficient way to start. For example, off the top of my head, during the last 20 months of my Spanish learning journey, I've used Madrigal's Magic Key to Learning Spanish twice. I finished all 5 levels of Fluence. I've listened to all 5 levels of Pimsleur's Spanish audio program and listened to about 3 of the 4 original levels of the Learning Spanish Like Crazy audio program. I also used various other workbooks and video programs such as the Destinos and Español Seed telenovela series. But despite all these different resources I used, I always felt some element or another was missing.
En Colombia hay que oír todo el tiempo. A la orden, bienvenidos a la orden.
Pasa adelante. Pregunte sin compromiso.
No.
However, after finding and using Complete Step-by-Step Spanish by Barbara Bergstein, things began to just click. I can 100% say with confidence that this was the resource that made me the most confident and supercharged my understanding of the Spanish language. I don't think this resource gets enough love in the Spanish language community. If I remember correctly, I only found it because I happened to see that it was a highly rated book on Amazon, and I buy a lot of Spanish resources, so I wanted to give it a try. But I 100% believe that if you take your time reading the physical copy of Complete Spanish Step by Step and also supplement it with the audio version of the book, you will be able to confidently read, understand spoken Spanish when it's relatively clear and slow, and express yourself in many common situations. Now, I know I'm making a big claim, so let me clarify. There is no way you can learn all the vocabulary of any language or become 100% fluent in a language from one resource. You will never know every word of every language. And building fluency, such that we can use many different words to express the same thing and do so quickly and almost without thinking, will take years. But what you will understand really well by using this resource is the structure and sounds of the language, combined with words that are most often used in the language. Teaching the essence of language is what Complete Step by Step does really well in a very thought out, methodical, and sequential way. Every aspect of the basics of Spanish grammar, including the uses of all tenses of the subjunctive, is covered with great explanations of use and with sufficient examples.
Siempre es 10 de mayo, porque en Estados Unidos es el segundo domingo de mayo, ¿verdad? Entonces cada año cambia. En Guatemala siempre es 10 de mayo, sea lunes, sea miércoles, sea sábado, 10 de mayo.
Todos los días.
Este año por suerte cayó sábado.
Additionally, it contains extensive sentence building exercises, over 30 readings, and covers more than 500 essential verbs. Furthermore, the audio version of the book is a language learning program in itself, which covers the same material as the physical version. I feel the audio version is a perfect audio supplement. Not only does it help you get used to hearing and speaking the Spanish language, but the narrator also explains things a bit differently than how they are explained in a physical copy of the book. She also asks you to repeat the examples you hear and challenges you to answer each exercise out loud.
Ahorita por el momento no.
Más
Porque esta anda solo requiere como 10 personas. Hay andas, muebles, que requieren 100 o 150 personas.
Now, don't get me wrong. The book can be overwhelming. It took me about 3 months to get through the book the first time, and this was before I discovered that it had a 60-hour audio version. And even after going through the book, perhaps because I went through it too fast, there were still many things I either didn't remember or understand. But even after my rushed first time through, everything about the language became much easier to grasp. So I used Complete Step by Step a second time, using both the physical and audio versions of the book. Again, it took me about 3 months in total to finish both these resources, spending about an average of 3 days per chapter. And it's a 30 chapter book. But this definitely boosted and added onto what I had already learned. After finishing the second time, I decided to do it again this year, because after I picked up another Spanish workbook, I realized that it taught basically the same things as Complete Spanish Step by Step, but in a way that just didn't seem as seamless. So I just went back to what I knew. Now I'm currently going through the book a fourth time.
La iglesia principal de Guatemala, ¿verdad? Es la cabeza de la iglesia católica en el país.
What's my point of sharing all of this? My point is, being a Spanish language learner myself, beginning in my 40s, who has spent plenty of time looking for the best resources to learn the language, which has pulled me into so many different directions, I guess I just want to save you some time. So my recommendation is, if you have to pick one main resource to learn from, it will be Complete Spanish Step by Step, because it teaches the most important elements of the language really well. When you truly grasp all the elements taught in this book, even if you have to go through it multiple times, your Spanish learning becomes much smoother. And finally, you'll be able to confidently engage in Spanish learning telenovela programs like Destinos, Be entertained by Spanish-speaking travel vloggers on YouTube, or even scroll through a bustling street where every conversation flows entirely in Spanish. When this happens, all of these things will become a more thrilling and deeply enriching experience. You'll find yourself confidently asking questions, connecting authentically, and feeling fully immersed in the vibrant world of the Spanish language.
Te amo. Espero. Te amo. Te amo.
¿La conoces?
Espero. No, es una canción fácil. Fácil. I love you, I'll wait.
Anyway, I hope this video helps you focus your Spanish studies. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. And until next time, always remember, be safe and go travel. You have everywhere to go see. Peace.